The false victory the alien ships came like metal storms across Earth's sky. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet spin below. His red eyes gleamed with satisfaction. 3 months of war, and finally, the humans had surrendered. "Sir, their leader wishes to speak," reported his aide, a young officer named Cole. On the screen appeared a tired-looking human man in a simple gray suit. He had dark hair and worn features that spoke of defeat. This was David Reed, the newly elected president of Earth's united government. "We surrender," Reed said quietly. "Our weapons are gone. Our cities are burning. We cannot fight anymore." Vex smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Wise choice, human. Your species will serve the Drex Empire well." The formal surrender happened in what humans called New York. Vex descended from his ship with 100 soldiers. The city lay in ruins, smoke rising from broken buildings. Humans lined the streets, heads down, watching their conquerors march. Past, Reed waited at the old United Nations building. He signed the surrender papers with shaking hands. Around him stood other human leaders. General Hayes, a broad man with gray hair. Dr. Lisa Park, a scientist with tired eyes. And Minister Tom Blake, who handled their resources. "You will give us your technology," Vex declared. "Your factories will make our weapons. Your people will work in our mines." "We understand," Reed replied. "We will obey." The Drex had studied humans for months before attacking. They were a warrior race, tall and strong, with red skin and black armor. They had conquered 12 worlds before Earth. They knew how to break a species' will to fight. But something felt wrong to Lieutenant Nix, Vex's intelligence officer. The humans had fought well at first. Their ships were fast, their weapons clever. Then suddenly, they had started losing battles they should have won. "Sir," Nix said privately to Vex, "their surrender came too quickly. 3 months ago, they destroyed our entire Third Fleet." Vex waved a dismissive hand. They saw they could not win. Even brave species know when to quit. The occupation began. Drex soldiers took over major cities. They set up bases in former human military sites. Humans went about their daily lives, working in factories, tending farms, fixing broken things. They seemed broken themselves, defeated and quiet. General Hayes reported to Vex each week. "Our people are following orders," he would say. "Production is up. No resistance movements." Dr. Park showed Drex scientists human technology. She explained their computers, their medicine, their power systems. Everything seemed normal, even helpful. But Nix noticed small things. Human workers were too efficient. Their broken equipment got fixed too quickly. When Drex soldiers got sick, human doctors cured them unusually fast. "They are being too helpful," Nix told Vex one evening. "Conquered species usually resist more." "Perhaps humans are naturally weak," Vex replied. "Not all species are warriors like us." Yet the reports from other occupied worlds were different. The Keth had fought with guerrilla warfare for years. The Moor had poisoned their own food rather than feed their conquerors. The Zil had blown up their cities instead of surrendering them. Humans did none of these things. They worked, they obeyed, they served. Almost like they wanted to be conquered. Nix decided to watch more carefully. He noticed that human children still played in the streets. Their schools still taught them reading and math. Their hospitals still saved lives. For a conquered people, they seemed remarkably normal one day. Nix followed Dr. Park to her laboratory. She was working on something for the Drex medical team, a cure for a disease that had struck several alien soldiers. She worked with perfect focus, her hands steady as she mixed chemicals. "Doctor," Nix said, "you work very hard for your conquerors." Park looked up, startled. "We want to be useful," she said. It is better to serve than to die. Yes, Nix agreed. But you serve almost too well. That night, Nix couldn't sleep. He walked through the human city, watching. People moved through dark streets with quiet purpose. They nodded to Drex patrols politely. They cleaned up damage from the war. They rebuilt what was broken. But their eyes were not the eyes of the defeated. They were patient, waiting. Nix began to suspect that humanity's surrender was not what it seemed, but he could not prove it. And if he was right, what exactly were the humans planning? The first part of their plan was already complete. The Drex had taken the bait. They believed they had won. They felt safe on the conquered world of Earth. They had no idea that the real war was just beginning. 6 months after the surrender, the Drex Empire felt secure. Their ships patrolled Earth's skies. Their soldiers walked through human cities without fear. Production quotas were being met. The humans seemed perfectly obedient. But Lieutenant Nix could not shake his growing unease. He had been studying the humans more closely. Their behavior patterns were too perfect, too coordinated. When one factory had problems, workers from other cities arrived to help within hours. When Drex soldiers got lost, humans always appeared to guide them back to base. "Sir," Nix reported, "to Commander Vex, I request permission to investigate human communication networks." Vex looked up from his reports. "Why?" "They surrendered their military communications months ago." "That is exactly my concern," Nix said. "How do they coordinate so well without central command?" Vex considered this very well. "But do not disrupt their work. We need their factories running." Nix began his investigation quietly. He started with Dr. Park's laboratory, installing hidden cameras and listening devices. What he found puzzled him more. Park worked alone during the day, helping Drex scientists with their research. But at night, she stayed late. She worked on different projects, things that had nothing to do with Drex needs. When Nix checked her computer files, he found only routine medical research. Yet something was happening. Nix could feel it, he decided, to follow Park one evening. She left her laboratory at midnight, walking through empty streets. She stopped at a small coffee shop that should have been closed, but the door opened for her. Inside, Nix saw through the window were 12 other humans. They sat around a table, talking quietly. Minister Blake was there, General Hayes, a woman he didn't recognize, a man who looked like a factory worker. Nix tried to get closer, but the building's windows were too dirty to see clearly. He could not hear their words. After an hour, they left one by one, disappearing into the night. The next morning, Nix searched the coffee shop. It looked normal. Old furniture, dust on the counters, nothing unusual. But when he ran his scanner over the walls, he found something interesting. The entire building was lined with a metal mesh that blocked electronic signals. They built a communications dead zone, Nix realized. Over the following weeks, Nix discovered more such places. An old bookstore, abandoned warehouse, a small church, all lined with the same signal-blocking material, all visited by different groups of humans at night. But the most troubling discovery came when Nix analyzed the metal mesh itself. It was made from recycled Drex equipment. The humans had somehow extracted rare metals from damaged alien technology and woven it into their own shielding. "They are more clever than we thought," Nix muttered. He brought his findings to Vex. "Sir, the humans have built a secret communication network. They meet in hidden locations all across the planet." Vex frowned. "What do they discuss?" "I do not know. But they are organized. This is not random meetings. This is planned." "Arrest them," Vex ordered. "Which ones, sir?" "I have identified over 300 meeting locations. Thousands of humans are involved. Vex stared at the map Nix had prepared. Red dots marked every secret meeting place they had found. They covered every major city, every town, every settlement on Earth. "This is impossible," Vex said. "We destroyed their government. We control their communications. How did they organize?" Nix had been wondering the same thing. "Sir, I believe they were organized before we arrived. This network existed during the war. Then why did they surrender?" "I do not know, but I think we should find out." That night, Nix decided to take a risk. He would try to capture one of the meetings. He chose the coffee shop, the first location he had discovered. He waited in the shadows across the street. At exactly midnight, Dr. Park arrived. Then Blake, then Hayes, then 9 others, all arriving separately, all entering the shielded building. Nix moved closer. He had brought special equipment that might penetrate their shielding. Slowly, carefully, he placed a listening device against the building's wall. Through the static, he heard fragments of conversation. ... Production levels are ahead of schedule. ... Their fleet positioning is exactly as predicted. ... Phase 2 begins in 6 weeks. ... Remember, no one acts until the signal ... Nix's blood ran cold. Phase 2? Signal? This was not the behavior of a conquered people. This was the behavior of people following a plan. He tried to hear more, but footsteps approached. Someone was leaving the building. Nix quickly removed his device and retreated into the shadows. As the humans dispersed, Nix realized the horrible truth. Humanity had not been conquered. They had allowed themselves to be conquered. The surrender, the cooperation, the perfect obedience, it was all an act. But what was Phase 2? And how long did the Drex have before the humans revealed their true intentions? Nix had to warn Commander Vex. The war was not over. It had never ended. "You are being paranoid," Commander Vex said, dismissing Nix's report with a wave. "The humans work in our factories. They feed our soldiers. They repair our ships. How can this be a trap?" Nix stood firm in the commander's office. "Sir, they have a planet-wide organization. They speak of phases and signals. This is not normal behavior for conquered people. Perhaps they are planning small acts of rebellion," Vex suggested. "Every occupied world has resistance movements. We will crush them when they reveal themselves. Sir, with respect, this feels different. They are too calm, too patient." Vex turned to look out at the city below. Human workers moved through the streets, carrying supplies to Drex facilities. Everything appeared normal. "Lieutenant, we have 50,000 soldiers on this planet. We have orbital weapons platforms. We control their power grids and communication systems. What could they possibly do to us?" Nix had no answer. That was what worried him most. 3 weeks later, the answer began to reveal itself. It started with small things. A Drex transport ship developed engine problems during routine patrol. The human repair crew fixed it quickly, but the ship crashed. 2 days later, investigation showed the repairs had been done perfectly, but with parts that would fail under stress. Then a food processing plant that supplied Drex bases reported contamination in their storage systems. The humans worked around the clock to solve the problem. The food was declared safe, but 20 soldiers got sick from eating it. Not sick enough to die, but sick enough to need medical attention. Accidents, Vex declared. These things happen during occupation, but the accidents kept happening. Power outages at Drex bases that lasted exactly long enough to disrupt communications. Computer viruses that deleted only specific files. Equipment failures that forced soldiers to rely on human technicians for repairs. Nix noticed the pattern. Every problem was solved by humans. Every solution made the Drex more dependent on human help. They are not trying to hurt us, Nix realized. They are making us need them. He brought this theory to Vex, but the commander was dealing with bigger problems. Reports from other occupied worlds were troubling. The Keth had launched a major uprising. The Moor had destroyed 3 Drex mining colonies. The Zeal had somehow acquired advanced weapons and were fighting back. We need to move ships from Earth to handle these rebellions, Vex decided. The humans are peaceful. We can reduce our forces here. Sir, I strongly advise against this, Nix protested. I believe the humans are... Enough, Vex snapped. I am tired of your theories. The humans are defeated. Focus on real threats. Within days, half the Drex fleet left Earth's orbit. The remaining forces were spread thin across the planet. Humans watched the ships depart with careful, hidden interest. That night, Nix decided to take extreme action. He would capture someone from the human network and force them to reveal their plans. He chose Dr. Park. She was intelligent, important, and he knew her routine. He waited outside her laboratory until she emerged at midnight, then followed her to the coffee shop. But when Park arrived, she was not alone. General Hayes waited for her, and Minister Blake, and 50 other humans, all standing in the street, were waiting for him. Lieutenant Nix, Park said calmly, we know you have been watching us. We think it is time we talked. Nix reached for his weapon, but Hayes shook his head. That would be unwise. Look around. Nix did. In every doorway, behind every window, he saw human faces. Hundreds of them, all watching him, all perfectly calm. We are not your enemies, Park continued. We have been very good to you. We have fed you, sheltered you, repaired your equipment. We have been the perfect conquered people. What do you want? Nix demanded. We want you to deliver a message to Commander Vex, Blake said. Tell him that Phase 2 begins tomorrow. Tell him that humanity thanks the Drex Empire for their service. Service? Nix was confused. We conquered you. Park smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Did you? Let me ask you something, Lieutenant. How many of your people have left Earth in the past 6 months? Nix thought. Ships had been rotating back to Drex space regularly. Soldiers had been transferred to other worlds. New assignments, normal procedures. And how many have arrived? Park continued. The answer hit Nix like a physical blow. Very few ships had arrived. The fleet had been growing smaller, not larger. And the humans had been watching, counting, planning. You wanted us to reduce our forces, Nix whispered. We needed time to study you, Hayes said. To learn your technology. To understand your weaknesses. You have been very helpful teachers. Tomorrow, Blake added, class ends. And the real lesson begins. The humans began to disperse, melting back into the shadows. Within minutes, Nix stood alone in the empty street. He ran back to base, his mind racing. The humans had not been conquered. They had been conducting the longest, most patient intelligence operation in galactic history. And tomorrow, whatever they had been planning would finally begin. Commander Vex did not believe Nix's warning until it was too late. You are telling me, Vex said slowly, that the humans have been pretending to be conquered for 8 months? That they planned this from the beginning? Yes, sir. They manipulated us into reducing our forces. They studied our technology. They made us dependent on their help. Vex looked at the reports on his desk. Everything seemed normal. Production quotas were being met. Human workers were at their posts. The morning shift had started on time. If this is true, Vex said, where is their attack? Where are their weapons? The answer came at exactly noon that every Drex facility on Earth went dark simultaneously. Power grids failed. Communication systems crashed. Life support systems in the orbital stations flickered and died. Emergency backups that should have activated. remained silent. What is happening? Vex shouted as his command center plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting flickered on. Nix was already at his console, trying to contact other Drex positions. Static filled the channels. "Sir?" called out Officer Tor from the communication station. "I am getting reports from all bases. Complete system failures planet-wide." "Impossible," Vex said. "Our systems are isolated from human networks." "No, sir," Nix said grimly. "They are not. The humans have been repairing our equipment for months. They have been inside our systems all along." On the emergency screens, they could see the city outside. Humans moved through the streets with new purpose. They no longer walked with heads. Down, they carried equipment. They wore uniforms that had been hidden for 8 months. "They are activating," Nix realized. President Reed appeared on the screen. But this was not the defeated man who had signed the surrender. This Reed stood straight, confident, surrounded by military officers in crisp uniforms. "Commander Vex," Reed said, "I hope you have enjoyed your stay on Earth, but your lease has expired." "You cannot fight us," Vex snarled. "We have orbital weapons. We have superior technology," Reed smiled. "Do you? Please check your orbital platforms." Vex turned. To his staff, "Contact the fleet immediately." "Sir," Tor reported, "orbital platforms are not responding. Neither are the ships." "Show me," Vex demanded. The screens flickered to life, showing Earth from orbit. The Drex fleet hung motionless in space. No lights, no movement. Dead metal floating. In the void. "How?" Vex whispered. "You have been eating our food," Reed explained. "Breathing our air. Using our medical supplies. Did you think we would not find ways to affect your biology? Your crews are not dead, Commander. They are simply ... sleeping." Dr. Park appeared beside Reed. "We developed a compound that affects Drex nervous systems. It is harmless in small doses, but with months of exposure, it causes temporary paralysis. Your people will wake up in a few hours. But by then, they will be our guests." "This is impossible," Vex said. "We scanned everything. We tested everything." "You tested for poisons," Park replied. "Not for compounds that work slowly over time. Not for substances that only become active when combined with specific triggers." General Hayes stepped forward. "At this moment, human forces are boarding every Drex ship in orbit. We are taking control of your bases across the planet. Your soldiers are being disarmed and contained." "You had no weapons," Vex protested. "We destroyed your military." "We had the greatest weapon of all," Hayes said. "Time, 8 months to study. Every piece of your technology, to learn every weakness. To prepare." Blake appeared on screen. "Did you really think a species that built cities, flew to the stars, and developed advanced science would simply give up? We have been fighting wars for thousands of years, Commander. We know how to lose battles to win wars." Outside, Nix could see human vehicles moving through the streets. Not the simple transports he had seen before, but military craft that looked suspiciously like modified Drex technology. "They reverse-engineered our ships," Nix said in amazement, "and improved them." Reed added, "Human creativity combined with Drex engineering. We have built something quite remarkable." Vex slammed his fist on the console. "We conquered 12 worlds before yours. We know how to handle rebellions." "This is not a rebellion," Reed said quietly. "This is a liberation. Not just of Earth, but of every world the Drex Empire has conquered. You see, Commander, we have been in contact with the Kef, the Moor, the Zeal, and all the others. We have been sharing information, coordinating." The truth hit Vex like a physical blow. The uprisings on other worlds were time to draw your forces away from Earth, Reed confirmed. Every rebellion, Every attack, every crisis, all designed to leave Earth defenseless. Or so you thought. You used us, Vex said. We used your arrogance, Reed replied. Your belief that conquest means victory. You never understood that sometimes the defeated are simply choosing their moment to strike back. The screen flickered and went dark. Outside, the sound of Drek's soldiers surrendering echoed through the streets. The hunters had become the hunted. The conquerors had become the conquered. And humanity had revealed the most dangerous truth in the galaxy. They were very, very good at pretending to lose. 1 year later, Lieutenant Nix stood in the same command center where he had watched the Drek's empire fall. But now he wore a different uniform. A blue one, with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. Lieutenant, President Reed said, entering the room. Are you ready for the briefing? Nix nodded. In the years since the liberation, he had become something unexpected, a bridge between species. The humans had not executed their former conquerors. Instead, they had offered them a choice: join the new alliance or return to Drek's space. Had chosen to stay. The humans, it turned out, were as good at making friends as they were at making enemies. The reports from the outer systems are encouraging, Reed continued, reviewing the data on his tablet. The Keth have established 3 new colonies. The Moor have developed a new medical treatment that works on 6 different species. The Zil have created a communications network that spans half the galaxy. And the former Drex worlds? Nix asked. Free, Reed said simply. Every last one. The Empire is finished. It had taken 6 months for the coordinated uprisings to succeed completely. The humans had shared their infiltration techniques with every conquered species. They had provided technology, strategy, and most importantly, hope. World after world had thrown off Drek's control. What of Commander Vex? Nix inquired. He chose to return to Drek's Prime, Reed replied. He leads the new Drex Republic now. They are applying for membership in the Galactic Alliance. The Alliance, humanity's greatest creation. Not an empire built on conquest, but a union based on cooperation. 12 former slave worlds had become partners in something unprecedented. A galaxy where species work together instead of dominating each other. Sir, Nix said, may I ask you something that has troubled me? Of course, the surrender. The perfect timing. The coordination with other worlds. How long did you plan this? Reed smiled. How long do you think? Nix had spent months trying to understand. The network was too organized, too complete. You could not have built it during the war. No, Reed agreed. We could not have. Then when? The planning began 50 years ago, Reed said, when we first detected signals from other worlds. When we realized we were not alone in the galaxy. We knew that eventually someone would come. To Earth. Someone stronger than us. Nix stared. You planned for conquest before you were conquered. We planned for survival, Reed corrected. We studied every signal we intercepted. We learned about the Drex Empire. We understood that they conquered through superior technology and divide and conquer tactics. So we prepared. For 50 years? Humans are very patient when we need to be, Reed said. We built the communication network. We developed the biological compounds. We created contingency plans for every possible scenario. And we waited. But you could have fought. Your technology was more advanced than we realized. Fighting would have meant millions of deaths, Reed said. Surrender meant we could choose our moment. Choose our method. Choose our victory. Dr. Park entered the room, carrying a stack of reports. President, the medical exchange program is showing excellent results. We have cured diseases that have plagued various species for centuries. And the technology sharing? Reed asked. Beyond expectations, Park replied. When species work together instead of fighting, progress happens incredibly fast. We have developed faster-than-light communications, new energy sources, medical treatments that work across species barriers. What about the Drex? Nix asked. Do they understand what they missed? Many do, Park said. Your former commander is quite vocal about it. He says the Drex Empire was holding back galactic progress by centuries. Through the window, Nix could see the city below. It looked different now. Alien architectures blended with human buildings. Keth gardens grew next to more healing centers. Zil artists worked alongside human engineers. The diversity was staggering. We never wanted to conquer anyone, Reed said, following his gaze. We just wanted to survive, and to help others survive too. The galaxy is changing, Nix observed. Growing, Reed corrected. For the first time in recorded history, species are advancing together instead of fighting each other. Trade routes are secure. Scientific knowledge is shared freely. Art and culture flow between worlds. And if another empire tries to conquer us, Reed's smile was not entirely pleasant. Then they will learn what the Drex learned. That humanity is very good at appearing weak, and very, very good at turning weakness into strength. The galaxy will never be the same, Nix said. No, Reed. Agreed, it will be better. Because sometimes the best way to win a war is to convince your enemy that they have already won. And sometimes the best way to save the galaxy is to let it think you are defeated, until you are ready to save it properly. Exactly, Reed said. Welcome to the new galaxy, Lieutenant. A galaxy where being human means something very different than our enemies thought. Outside, the stars shone brighter than ever before. And among them, 12 worlds learned a new word. A human word that would spread throughout the galaxy. Hope. Asterisk.